Welcome to Channel's Business Globe with me, Juliana Olayinka, from just outside the Palace of Westminster in central London. Coming up on today's show, we dive into the UK's latest immigration crackdown. Deportations are up, workplace raids are intensifying, and businesses face tougher penalties. What does this mean for Nigerian migrants, entrepreneurs and professionals working in key industries? Dr. Jennifer Obaseki, a leading legal expert, joins us to break it all down. And we'll also be speaking with Professor Muyiwa Oyinlola, Director of the Circular Economy Powered Renewable Energy Centre, and Abby Okoya, Head of Strategic Partnerships, about how this £3.5 million Pan-African Research Centre is leveraging circular economy principles to drive Africa's renewable energy future while tackling the growing challenges of e-waste. Then later, we'll be bringing you highlights from the Motherland Summit, which took place last weekend, showcasing how the African diaspora is fostering leadership, innovation and economic development on the continent. But first, the UK government is preparing for complex trade negotiations with the United States as President Donald Trump signals potential tariffs on British exports. While Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has expressed optimism about securing a UK-US trade deal, significant hurdles remain, including Trump's protectionist stance and demands for concessions on agriculture. Despite a historically balanced trade relationship, Trump's administration appears keen to use tariffs as leverage in broader negotiations. UK officials, including Darren Jones, the Treasury's second in command, have emphasised strengthening economic ties, particularly in digital trade. However, concerns persist over whether the UK may need to relax food safety standards or make strategic concessions in defence to secure a deal. Elsewhere, the Labour Party is grappling with internal turmoil following a wave of sackings and suspensions, raising concerns about party unity and governance under Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Health Minister Andrew Gwynn was recently dismissed after making offensive remarks in a WhatsApp group, while Tulip Sadiq was forced to resign from her position for corruption allegations. Additionally, several councillors and MPs have been suspended over misconduct, controversial messages and policy disagreements, adding to the party's internal challenges. Labour insists these actions are necessary to uphold standards, but critics argue they highlight deeper divisions. Some view the crackdown as an effort to maintain discipline, while others accuse Starmer of struggling to keep control of his party. The sacking of Gwynn in particular has sparked debate, with comparisons drawn to past governments' difficulties in managing internal scandals. The British government has intensified its crackdown of illegal immigration, reporting the removal of 19,000 illegal immigrants since taking office, a rate higher than in recent years. Officials aim to reach the highest level of deportation since 2018, with 16,400 people removed last month alone. Beyond deportations, authorities have increased workplace enforcement with over 800 business raids in January, leading to 609 arrests, a 73% rise from the previous year. Sectors such as nail bars, car washes and construction have been heavily targeted. Meanwhile, employers hiring illegal workers now face tougher penalties, with fines reaching £60,000 per worker under new government regulations. Supporters argue that Labour is delivering on promises to tighten immigration controls, while critics point out that deportation numbers are still small compared to overall migration levels. Some pressure groups are also pushing for a more human approach, citing concerns over rights and due process. Dr. Jennifer Obaseki, it's so great to see you. Thank you for stepping outside the Royal Courts of Justice. I think this is actually the first time we're filming here, but it's a very appropriate location for the discussion we're about to embark on. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, she's been on the airwaves in the UK this week because there have been mass deportations of illegal immigrants. I've got to say, of course, you shouldn't be able to come into the country illegally, but
absolutely,
it kind of gave me memories of when you were in the meat shop or you're in the hair salon doing your nails, and then Border Force coming and they storm out. It's just not a nice way. Talk to me about this and what the ramifications are likely to be.
Thank you for bringing this up again. It's important that people understand, from employers to employees to those who are coming in, who are changing their status, that the UK has got immigration as a forefront issue, topical issue, and you must understand that you must come in lawfully. If not, you could end up being one of those people who are picked up by the enforcement units. It's sad because some people get themselves into situations that they're not aware of. Many young people find that they are not documented, thinking that parents or carers have filed documents for them, or people who have jobs don't realise maybe doing an extra shift in a different organisation is in breach of their rules. So understanding what your status is, knowing any limits on your leave or conditions on your leave to remain is essential. And employers, really them understanding that they have a duty to identify who they're employing, making sure that their documents are okay and they have the right to work.
Do you know what, thank you for mentioning employers, because part of this new, I think there's also new legislation as well, so they're cracking down on employers. As always, every time we talk, there's so much going on in the world, so much. Donald Trump across the pond, you know, dominating all of the headlines. But a lot of that MAGA rhetoric has filtered through into the UK. We haven't really had a discussion, an open discussion in this country about immigration since the Rwanda deportation. Were you surprised that Labour now have taken such a tough stance? How are you feeling the climate right now, besides it being freezing?
A tough question in the cold. But you see, with the rise of reform, I think the other two parties being in play for such a long time feel they need to do something, but immigration is not the sole cause of economic problems in the UK. But to show that they are tackling the immigration issue, they have put forward these measures. Even yesterday, the UK, even with the Labour government, has put forward legislation that means anybody who's been here illegally at any part of their life
can no longer get a British passport.
That is a huge thing. And as I said,
especially for children,
young people whose parents may not be able to afford an extension of an application, may not have filed an application, or
could be in foster care.
Could have been in foster care. Local authority may not have assisted them in making the right application at the right time. May now never get a British passport. That's very tough. So I feel that yes, immigration is an issue that the parties are really toying around with, but they have a right. The UK has a right to enforce a structured immigration policy. Has to curtail those awful traffickers who are pushing people onto boats who are dying. So they want to put forward a deterrent. They want to also put forward an immigration policy that satisfies the needs of the economy. However, the way that they're going about it is going to marginalise those vulnerable people who may have themselves been trafficked in, suffered a period where they've not been documented, and now they'll never be able to get British passports. It's disappointing, but we'll see if it gets challenged later on.
Absolutely.
That's what happens in courts like this.
That's what happens in the High Court. You spoke about the economy. I want to talk about the economy because some of the places where these raids are taking place are in sectors that some would say, controversially or not, that English people don't want to work in those places. English people don't want to clean. English people don't want to be in the butchers unless it's owned by themselves, and they don't want to be slaving away in hair salons. Are we allowed to have these discussions openly now?
Well, you think about it, nobody should be slaving away anyway. They've got the minimum wage, that's number one. But secondly, yes, you've got a class full of young people. How many are saying I'm going to be a carer? How many are saying I'm going to go into the building trade? Not many. Most classes, I was even asking some young people that were doing work experience last week, how many people said they're going to go into the building trade? And they said 2 out of the whole class of 40 odd. And same in the care industry. If the UK goes on like this, it will deter those workers who have been coming in, who have been filling those frontline jobs, those key jobs that other people who are UK born, UK citizens don't want to do, are not so attractive. So it is worrying. It's worrying that they'll come in and maybe not get the chance after years of contributing to be able to stay here permanently.
It is quite sad, isn't it? I suppose the rhetoric on Elon Musk's X has been lost. You know, we forget that these are people we're talking about. These aren't just memes. These people have ordinary lives. We're running out of time. Obviously, I can't have somebody like you on without asking for advice. Our show always is popular when you're on here.
Thank you. Really important. If you are coming in, make sure that you are aware of the limits on your leave to remain. If you've come in for a particular job role, make sure that you do not breach the conditions and then get yourself into trouble. If you're an employer, make sure you are following the checks. Go to the .gov website. You can check the status of who has applied for jobs in your organisation. The duty is on you. The fines are very large, 15,000 minimum. There can even be a 5-year sentence, and the maximum can be up to £45,000. So please know what you must do. If you are not documented, do not think about the negatives or the cost. You can apply for a fee waiver. Please get yourself into a position where you are on the track to getting yourself regularised. And if you've got children, again, the local authority has limited resources but can help. You can't get help unless you ask for help. So meet a specialist, get some advice, and make sure that you do the right thing, because the consequences can be very, very severe. Okay?
Gosh, Dr. Jennifer, I don't know what we'd do without you. Thank you so much. Really,
my pleasure.
Really timely advice, and I hope people obviously adhere to the law, and then that's what would prevent this crackdown, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Thank you, Dr. Jennifer.
Thank you, my pleasure.
The recently concluded Motherland Summit has once again reinforced the power of Africa's diaspora in shaping the continent's future. Spearheaded by Nnamdi Nduka Eze, CEO of the Motherland Hub, the summit served as a platform for young African innovators, entrepreneurs and policymakers to engage with leading diaspora professionals in a bid to drive economic growth and leadership development. Key conversations also revolved around scaling African creative industries, strengthening international partnerships and ensuring sustainable opportunities for African youth.
I think I'm able to offer like a different angle, slightly different perspective. So the nature of the social innovation I do is that it's primarily based on social media, which I think is its biggest blessing and its biggest curse.
Fundamental objective behind Motherland Hub is to tap into the underutilized assets that is Africa's diaspora, and to find ways that they can be exposed to the various stakeholders on ground in Africa who can enable them to act on their visions for developing Africa. So in this age of digital and global cross-border collaboration, we like to say that talent productivity is no longer dependent on talent locality.
Africa has only 0.9% of digitally delivered services trade. Okay, so it's tiny. However, the growth rates on the continent are on the high side. And that's why I'm saying that this shows there's an opportunity. So what we should be looking at is how do we get a larger slice of that trade? It's worth $4.2 trillion now. Okay, of total trade. Remember, total trade is 30.4 trillion. So digitally delivered services trade is $4.25 trillion. But we have slightly, just about 1% of it. But since it's growing fast in our countries, also at 8-9% in some, even more, we have a chance to drive it.
Today we have been honored by having you here, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and you have taken out the time of your busy schedule to be with us today. We at Motherland intend to honor our dear DG in the way we can. We want to not only celebrate a trailblazer, but enshrine a legacy. Mama Africa.
It shows just the high regard I have for what you're trying to do, you know, that in the midst of my tariff issues, I'm here.
Coming up on Channel's Business Global, I'll be speaking with Professor Muyiwa Oyinlola, Director of the Circular Economy Powered Renewable Energy Centre, and Abi Okoya, Head of Strategic Partnerships, about how this £3.5 million Pan-African Research Centre is leveraging circular economy principles to drive Africa's renewable energy future. All of this after the break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from just outside the Palace of Westminster in central London. A major new initiative is set to transform Africa's energy landscape through the Circular Economy Powered Renewable Energy Centre, a £3.5 million Pan-African research hub dedicated to sustainable energy solutions. Muyiwa Oyinlola, Abi Okoya, thank you so much for joining me on Channel's Business Global. I always say to my guests, thank you for bracing the cold weather of Westminster. It's exceptionally cold, but we're going to have a very warming discussion, a glowing discussion. I've got to say, Muyiwa, I'm so proud of you and your team. When I was researching all of the stuff that CEPREC are doing, it is pretty phenomenal. Talk to me about this hub. You've called it an innovative hub. We do hear a lot about the circular economy. Talk to me about what makes CEPREC unique and how it's going to change the energy trajectory of Africa and, importantly, Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Juliana. Good to be here again. So CEPREC is interdisciplinary. So we bring together the social sciences and engineering, technical. So basically, we want it to work for real people. Secondly, we have a Pan-African approach. So just if you look at our sites, we have across the 6 countries covering West, East, and Southern Africa. We also we're looking at. So basically, we're funded by the UK government for research and innovation, and so that means that we are big on creating knowledge. And
what sort of knowledge?
So basically, we're bringing together the circular economy and energy. And when you say circular economy, how do we repurpose materials? So specifically, we're looking at electric vehicles. How do we repurpose vehicles that are end of life, because they still have a lot of life in them in terms of the components? So how do we use batteries for grid supply? How do we take that apart? How do we use that? But I think the big part of it is also the people side of things. So how do we ensure that whatever we're doing works for real people?
Yeah.
And then secondly, there's the policy aspect.
We're going to get into that. I'm happy you said, Muyiwa,
Yeah.
how is this going to impact real people? Because
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with 2 very distinguished academics. So sorry, I have to dumb it down a little bit. And
Okay.
let's step back before I bring Abby in. Talk to me about what the circular economy is, because if you're not in the sector you're in, or if you're not a journalist like me, a lot of people just don't know. So first of all, tell us what exactly it is.
Okay, so in simple terms, I'll say circular economy is what nature does. Okay, so you have a tree grows, it withers, and then whatever happens, it goes back. It supports the next growth. Okay, so what we've done in our production system over time is take, make, dispose. But the circular economy means that we go is cyclic. So something, the end of something is the beginning of something else. So we're looking at reuse, repurpose, recycle. Recycle is further down the line. So that's what the circular economy is about. So how do you ensure that things are in usable form for a very long period? Yeah, that's basically it.
Let me bring Abby in here. Abby, you lead strategic partnerships at CEPREC. Muyiwa spoke about the funding that you've had from the UK government. I know earlier this week we're showing our viewers some of that footage now from this symposium that you had. Talk to me about the importance of these partnerships. Why did you get involved? And what are you hoping that the backing from the British government, which to be honest is a massive deal, and we're sitting outside Westminster, the Prime Minister's in there at the moment, it's not easy to get their backing. For them to do it, they must have seen something in you where they thought, right, you're on the money.
Thank you so much for that, Juliana. So we had the virtual press conference earlier this week, and that was absolutely amazing to create awareness and to amplify the CEPREC story, which is a really innovative story. What we're looking at is, because it's innovative, we have an innovative approach to partnership as well. So it's going to be very strategic, looking at the triple helix model. So that means bringing together government, industry and academia to work together for social and economic development. So we're really thrilled about the funding that we got from the UK government, and we're looking to expand that by building collaborations and partnerships with the different countries that we've launched in. The idea is to expand what we're doing. So we have research and innovation, but we also need to build local capacity as well. So we need to be able to work with industry, government, academia in these different African countries to be able to build local capacity, those technical skills.
Absolutely.
And in doing that, we also want to have local hubs, because when you're building technical skills, sometimes the practical aspects are very key. So we need to give people that tangible practical skills that they need to foster innovation. That is very critical for us.
I was going to say it's critical. How Abby, because I know you're at every COP, you were in Baku just a couple of months ago, but how do you keep people engaged and interested? Because some people say it's just dull. And we know that, unfortunately, in Azerbaijan, the COP talks seem to dissipate slightly. We've got rhetoric from Donald Trump, kind of ripping up what you academics, spend all your life studying. How are you going to keep people engaged, especially the local communities, to let them know we've all got a stake in this? As Muyiwa was right in saying it, the circular economy affects all of us.
Yes, the way to keep people engaged is to keep them informed. So that's why the amplification is very key, and we had the virtual press conference to not just inform members of the media, but other stakeholders as well. So possible investors, other academics as well, and also other industry players. Once we're all on the same page, it's now easier for us to work together and collaborate for one main innovative mission, which is a separate story. So
Absolutely.
It's really very critical for us. And the reason these forums are key is because they create communities and hubs where people with like mind comes together, for one main purpose. And that's why we went there, and we've been going there consecutively, so that we can meet and connect with other players, other stakeholders as well.
Thank you. Muyiwa, do you want to add to that? Particularly, obviously, this is news, so I've got to ask about what's trending. Trump is trending. His rhetoric is trending. Are you concerned about the global trajectory and how positions have changed? Is that going to impact you or not really?
Not really, and that's what we're trying to do. So as Abby said, what we're part of is the Arts in Fund, which is a 1 billion commitment by the UK government to research and innovation. And so what we're doing is generating knowledge to see, basically, circular economy, renewable energy has to work for real people, okay? We can't continue the rhetoric that the average man on the street in Nigeria doesn't care about. He's looking for his next meal, okay? So for these things to work and for them to scale, we need to be able to make them...
How are you going to be doing that?
So
Talk to me about some of the practical things, the next steps.
So that's one of the things we are doing. That's why we've decided to go the route of circular economy. So the idea is we don't take new resources from the Earth's crust, so hopefully that reduces costs. So if we are at par with conventional sources of energy, then we have a case to make. Secondly, it's also making it real. So like Abby talked about information. So for example, quite a lot of people don't know the payback of solar panels in Nigeria can be as low as 2 years, 1 year, because of the if you look at the alternative of diesel generators. Yes. So yeah, there's the cost aspect, there's the information aspect, there are all those sort of things. So we just need to make sure that we're not forcing people to do what they don't want to do.
But you're disseminating the knowledge.
Yes,
knowledge
exactly.
Knowledge is key.
The partnership is key. We're not going to be working in silos. We're going to be collaborating, and that is what makes SEPREC different, because we're going to be, having that triple helix model I spoke about earlier, and that's how we're going to engage going forward. So just wanted to put it out there that we are open to collaborating. So we will be reaching out, and our website is open, so people can also log on, contact us, and then we can now start the conversation and see ways in which we can work together.
Absolutely. We're running out of time. But I've got to ask, of course, how people can be involved. Abby has just succinctly put it, but we know we've got loads of Nigerians in the diaspora, lots who are studying in Leicester, De Montfort, and across the UK. How can they get involved, Muyiwa? Because it's a big task, and you're going to need a lot of help.
Indeed, we will need a lot of help, and as Abby said, it's all about collaboration, and we are trying to go together to go far. So I guess in the first instance, it will be to reach out to us just to see what they're doing, what their interests are, and then we can definitely forge a path forward.
Thank you so much, Professor Muyiwa Oyinlola, Abby Okoya. It's been a pleasure feasting upon all of your knowledge today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, sadly, that's all I've got time for you today. But as always, do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channels Business Global. Goodbye.